All right, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, welcome back. Welcome back to some more TikTok reactions, the little series I like to do where I look over depressing TikToks that show us we are in the dark dimension, like I always say. So, we are further in the dark dimension today, and that is because I've recently found out something. Now, I don't know if this is going to fix in the future, I don't know if this is going to get rectified, but tragedy has struck. Tragedy has struck in the fact that all of the DMs I've sent myself before March 17th just don't show up anymore. Honestly, it's ultimately my fault that I put this off for this long. I'm supposed to make these every week, and I didn't do that. So a lot of these DMs that I wanted to show you guys for a long time are kind of just lost in the ether right now. I don't know if they're ever going to come back. I don't know if the website's going to stop being glitchy, but tried fixes, I couldn't get it to work, so, we're just further in the dark dimension. This dimension fucks us. But anyway, regardless, we're going to look at some stuff today. I'm going to make this probably a two-parter. I'm going to release the first part on its own, and then the second part is going to be a little bit of a special, episode, very themed around a certain thing. But we're going to get to that. We were probably going to see it at the end of this one, and then going into the next one, you'll know what it is. But regardless, let's just get started and let's see some depressing ass shit because this world is fucked and I want everyone to know it. Because only by knowing can we change it. Or I just want to be depressed with everyone else. So let's look at it.
Valley Bank. I'd like to withdraw all my money. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into this one, because this one's 3 minutes. What this one has to do with, because I need to explain a little bit of context to this one, is recently the bank system, or not the bank system, but Silicon Valley Bank had a bank run. Or was starting to make a bank run. So everyone wanted to withdraw their money, but they couldn't. Now, I'll describe more afterward, but we're just going to sit here and watch it because a lot of the describing they're going to do for me, but I'm going to describe why this is really bad and what's happening with it. And who knows, maybe the videos after this are going to do that as well because I mostly forget what I send myself. But let's see.
Yeah, our vault is kind of out of money right now, so you guys screwed up.
Oh, they don't have their money.
Works. We only keep a fraction of our total reserves available for lending or for withdrawals at any one point.
Yes.
Fractional reserve lending.
Whoa. Yeah, it's great for the banks, not for the people.
Oh, so I can have my money. No, everyone tried to withdraw their money all at once. But it's not our fault. See here, I'll start from the beginning.
See, you know what the sad part is? It really isn't their fault, even though it is, but it isn't. It's multiple people's fault. So the best way I could describe this is it's their fault and it's someone else's fault. So the fact that they're trying to put this on someone else is kind of like, it's kind of, they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I forgot the right word for it. I'm a little out of it right now.
Look at these strong banking regulations. It's a business. They need to be able to make money.
Yeah, money's bank. Yeah, money.
10 years ago. Okay, good point. What do you suggest? I have an idea. Right now, all banks, more than $50 billion to jump through hoops for the Federal Reserve.
Yes. 50 billion, by the way.
Stress tests, be able to absorb losses,
yep.
Cash on hand in case things get turbulent.
Yeah, they have to actually have regulations.
Super huge banks, but if we rolled back the regulations for, say, the small to medium size.
Oh yeah, why not?
Good. Who are you?
So basically, why don't we just make small to medium sized banks not have to go through scrutiny? We'll just make the big businesses go through scrutiny, not the small ones. Honestly, it's with this idea of making money again, right? Because fractional lending, it basically allows banks to make a shit ton of money. So smaller to medium-sized banks, the big banks already have a shit ton of money and they need to go through scrutiny, obviously. They're not going to let those go from the big banks like Capital One, Chase, and stuff. But the small banks, I don't know why they would do this because the small banks at the end of the day are there to keep money for people. They're not necessarily there to make a lot of money. And the fact that they are just shows that, we're greedy. We're greedy bitches. That's what people are. Greedy bitches. I'm no exception, though.
I'm the CEO of a small to medium-sized bank.
Oh! CVB, or SVB, Silicon Valley Bank.
Good afternoon, everyone. The market is collapsing. We are lowering interest rates. Please go borrow money and do business and keep the economy alive, please.
Yeah, look, when the government wants to, get bailed out, who do they come to help? The people. They ask the people, please, we'll give you money, just please spend it. Please inject the economy. But what do the people do? They actually want to live, and some of them are smart, so they save it, but most of them spend it, so.
Thank you.
Oh,
clientele is killing it.
whoa, they're making
Staying
so much
home
money.
using tons of tech products. All this cheap money landed in their pockets. We're full to the brim with deposits.
Whoa.
What do we do with all these new deposits?
Look, they're a small to medium-sized bank, right? And they argued like, yeah, we shouldn't be held to scrutiny of if people want to withdraw, we should keep a certain amount on hand. No.
That money to grow, so
So what are we gonna do with someone else's
safe,
money?
reliable investment stable. Government bonds and similar securities like that. Those are super safe.
Yeah.
Interest rates reach unprecedented levels for some
Oh,
reason.
yeah.
We will be pushing interest rates to unprecedented levels for some reason.
Because the way the fucking Federal Reserve thinks the only way to solve the problem is, hey, let's push interest rates to fucking just hurt people. So this is the biggest like bullshit of this whole thing, right? The solutions to the problem that's happening with, the economy's bad, they aren't really solutions. They're stopgaps. They're kicking the can down the road. And they're ultimately doing it by hurting certain groups of people. So, okay, we're going to raise interest rates. Who does that hurt? The rich people? No. The small to medium people? Yes, because they can't afford anything. So, interest rates are eventually going to go down by people losing their jobs. The Federal Reserve even said they obviously can't say they want this to happen, but they know the direct result of raising interest rates, which is people are going to get axed from their jobs. There's going to be more unemployment, and more unemployment, it doesn't solve the problem, it just brings the problem down to a more manageable level. But the problem is still not getting solved. So the problem is getting managed by people losing their jobs, approximately 2 million or more.
Corbett, NPR. What's that reason? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's to stop inflation.
Yeah, inflation, there it is. Oh no.
That we didn't want to happen. As long as we don't sell them prematurely, it'll be fine. I'm being told Moody's is going to lower our bank rating.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You don't want a bad rated bank.
Banks. We need to sell those bonds ASAP. We'll lose a ton of money. I know, but it'll free us up some wiggle room.
So, think about this. This is the biggest thing of it all. I'll describe it at the end. Let's just watch this thing.
At a loss? Thanks. They must have like no money.
Oh.
I need to get my money out of there. I need to get my money out of there.
I can't even blame people. Like, why would you want to entrust your money to a bank that's losing you money? Like, it doesn't make any sense. The bank run.
Oh, yeah.
First, all customers who
Oh, look, it's Joey B.
banks can rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today.
Thank you, Joey B.
Oh, here's your money. Problem solved. Thanks, government. This is kind of like when the government bailed out banks 15 years ago.
Whoa.
I was worried.
The management of these banks will be fired.
Oh, shit.
That's me. Welcome to Silicon.
Okay, so let me describe some things, right? So I can't fully blame people because imagine you go to a bank, you give them $1,000, right? And the whole idea of a bank, the bank isn't there as a business to make money. A bank is there as a repository to store money. Now, granted, they do need to be able to make a little bit of something, right? Because they need to pay their workers. And if all a bank is storing your money and doing nothing with it and not making anything, a lot of things wouldn't function. Loans wouldn't be given out. Things wouldn't happen. The bank obviously is going to make money, but the main goal of it shouldn't be to make money. It should be to store people's money. Now, the problem becomes when they become too capitalist, and, I know that's going to sound a little weird, but they become too money hungry, and they do what SVB did. They go into bonds and they try and make a lot of money. And then when people notice this, they're like, wait a minute. This bank's rating is going down. I don't like this bank. This bank seems sketchy. Let me go take my money. So imagine, just for a second, imagine you go to a bank, right? You've put $1,000 in your bank. You're like, hey guys, you're a repository. I'm here to take the $1,000 I gave you, which you said you would hold for me, right? In a safe space where, in case I get robbed, they can't rob you. So, it's safe, right? And they look at you and they're like, yeah, we only have half of it. Here, you can have half of the money you gave to us to safekeep. Oh, well, why do you only have half? Yeah, we fucked up. Like, are you serious? This whole thing is sad because all banks do this. I can't even blame SVB for this. Like, all banks do this, but SVB did the stupider play and they invested into bonds. And, with the Fed going out of control, trying to do all these, like, stopgap fixes, which aren't really fixes, it just was really bad. Now, again, I can't blame people for wanting to take their money out, but if people all at once did not want to take their money out of SVB, this wouldn't have even been shown. But that's the problem with the system. When stress tested, it breaks. If it's not stress tested, it's fine. The system works. But the problem is, in reality, things are going to get stress tested because we're in the dark dimension. But yeah, it's just really fucking stupid and really bad. Now, the biggest bad thing that this video shows, and I heard from one of our comments that these, we want these to be a little longer, and we're spending 10 minutes on a 3-minute TikTok. But essentially, the worst thing about this for the future is Biden bailed out this bank. And there were other banks that basically shut down. They didn't have enough money. They got bank ran on, right? One of them was in New York. Biden came in with the government and said, hey, we will match all the money. So the FDIC was here because this is what happened in the Great Depression. The Great Depression, people lost their money putting it into the bank. So why would anyone put money into the bank? But if money isn't in the bank, like I said, loans can't go out, business can't occur as usual, companies wouldn't exist because they need loans from the banks because who else has that kind of money to lend out, right? So things would not work. So the government had to create the FDIC to basically guarantee a certain portion of people's money. And by portion, I mean up to a limit of 250,000. Now, here's the big issue. The government now came in and said, okay, these couple of banks closed down because of their incompetence. The people obviously aren't going to trust banks. They're going to start either looking elsewhere outside of the US, or they're going to be keeping it under their fucking mattress or in their personal vaults if you're rich, mattresses if you're poor. So the problem then becomes, if the government is able to bail out above $250,000, right? That means, and what that tells to these other banks is you could do whatever the fuck you want. You could do the sketchy shit with bonds. You could do like all this bull crap with other people's money, where if they find out or something bad happens, like in reality in this dark dimension, you could get fucked. Don't worry, we will bail you out. Now, obviously, the management got fired, but they can't fire all the management every time, especially with lobbying occurring. So, and political influences. So eventually, what might happen is these banks might do riskier and riskier shit with you and my money, and it might not matter because the government's going to bail them out. But what does this do ultimately? I think it personally just raises inflation, because think about it: if the government has to bail out banks for above $250,000 per customer, and a lot of people have a lot of money in the banks, then like the government is going to start even like more pressuring their reserves of money, and it's just going to become even worse. It's really, really bad for the future. It's just going to make, I think, inflation worse, our government's budget worse, our taxes probably worse, or something's going to break. Eventually something's going to break with how the government's using its money, and it's really sad, but that's the precedent that was just set with SVB. And like everyone going forward, you could do pretty much whatever you want, and because the people need to have faith in the banks, we're gonna bail out you for the people. Obviously not the management, but the bank in general. So banking can continue with a worse system than fractional lending. They could do more sick shit, more like risky shit, because the government will bail them out because people need to trust the banks for society to continue. But ultimately, it just makes the problem worse for all of us. It's almost like a necessary evil, but any necessary evil, I say, is an evil we choose to be necessary. But anyway, it's really, really bad. But let's see if we have any other banking ones, because I think I sent a couple of these to myself. Let's see the next one. Oh, okay, this one's a good one. So, if we didn't think we were in a dark dimension, look at what's happening in France.
What's unfolding in France right now?
This guy looks really cool, by the way. And I'll just say this guy, he made this video very well. Obviously, he has like green screen stuff, but yo, I give him an A for effort. This video was very creative in terms of like the environment and like all the editing he did. It was funny. It was good. A plus to Planet Money.
The whole world is watching what's unfolding in
This guy looks like a fuckboy though.
France right now.
He must get bitches.
Yesterday, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, enacted a special constitutional power to override the parliament and forcefully pass his retirement age bill without a vote. And this is how the people react. Thousands of people took to the streets to
look at what they're doing,
setting fire to debris, clashing with riot police, and even threatening the home of the French president. And it wasn't
as they
just
should.
The public. When the decision was announced, lawmakers started chanting resignation and began singing the national anthem so loudly that the session had to be suspended for 2 minutes. Strikes again.
Wow, 2 minutes.
Raising the retirement age have taken place since the start of the year, but have gradually intensified, hitting transport, schools, oil refineries, the public sector.
Look at this. Look at this.
And beyond, leaving the streets of Paris looking like a third world country. Macron's government now faces motions of no confidence. But of course, as the situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
So there's definitely been some updates to this, because again, I sent these to myself back in the day, about a couple days ago. So France is basically explaining, now this is something that is being talked about in the US, and this is where it's really interesting to see the difference between the US and Europe. So France, they want to raise the retirement age. Why? I don't know, they need funding or they want to milk people for more than they have, right? Even though they're milking the wrong people. This is the big thing, and it might sound wrong, and people will definitely get, against me for this. But a lot of the problems in our society would get solved if the rich do what they need to do and put in their fair share. The way the rich just get around and circumvent all the things that we have to go through as normal people because they have influence, because they have power from their money, it's disgusting because they could solve most of the problems, they just don't want to, or it becomes a moral sort of gray area where are we going to force people? Because if we force them, why can't we force everyone? And, is it even good to force people? But regardless, right? France is trying to raise the retirement age. Bruh, what is the point of technology? If the point of technology is to make our lives easier, then we shouldn't have to work for longer. We should have to work for less and for shorter, right? In our lives. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is technology is being made so people have to work longer because people that are rich want to milk us for more money. The French had enough. Look at the fucking streets of what's happening. Look at this shit. In America, we're saying something similar because we don't know how we're going to afford Social Security income for the later generations, like aka my generation, by the time it comes around, because the government's going to run out of money because people are living longer because health is advancing, healthcare is advancing, right? Even though it's also unaffordable. But most of us live with that anyway. So it's a really odd question of, I think just with the banking situation and with the retirement age problem that we see from here, it just really brings the question of all these things look like they worked for a while. They weren't well, but over time they're cracking, they're breaking. And it looks like as time goes on, these things are just going to get more and more fucked up until everything just falls like a house of cards. It really feels like we're on a house of cards and everything is fucking up. This is so fucking bad. Like, not only is the housing market going crazy, rent is unaffordable, people can't afford to live anywhere, they can't afford food, then they have to work for even longer into their old age, even though we have technology, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. It's like, what is all this shit? What is going on? It's insane. Like I just don't get it. It's just so crazy. I really like these TikToks, but God, they're depressing. Also, you could really tell my TikTok fucked up because look at the right. There's literally no comments. That's how you know my TikTok is fucked. I really hope they fix it because I want to go back and look at the old ones I sent myself, but we might just be fucked. I might have to do these more often though, which I don't mind, but let's see the next one. So this is a hot lady. What is she? I forgot this one I sent myself. Again, I don't remember what I sent myself.
A point where I think we're kind of at the death of like careers.
That's true.
There is no such thing as a career anymore.
That's not true.
Because nobody wants a career anymore.
That's also not true.
Because the new workforce...
This is one of the videos I want to show now. I've shown this guy before, Jordan the Stallion. I think he's obviously a little bit on the edge of things. I think he's... if he's not doing this jokingly, or not jokingly, if he's not doing this as a persona to get views, if he actually believes these things, I think he's just straight dead wrong. But I think he's most likely doing this just to get more views. And the more charged you are, the more extremist you are to one side, the more views you're going to get. But I hope this doesn't reflect on what he actually believes. Obviously, it could be a more extreme version of what he believes, but if this is like one for one what he believes, I'll be a little shocked, and I just don't agree with him. But this is a prime example of, even though it aligns with what I believe, it's too extreme, and I actually think most leaders are wrong. And as we go through it, once we're done with it, I'll go over why. Let's keep looking.
Of workforce, they're not...
But some of it is right.
Not working for the sake of getting promoted to have a good, long-lasting job. We are all working to survive.
Okay, no complaints from me here. That is 100% true.
You cannot have a career if every single day you are worried about if you're going to be able to keep your job or not. Companies are not instilling any trust at all with their workers.
And in my job personally, where they track your time, and it's very dystopian because if you're not working and doing something every 5 minutes, they get upset at you and want to replace you. This very much hits home.
The last job I had, there was somebody who was working at that job for about 20 years. You want to know what happened? That company laid him off. They fired him via email on his day off.
That's just dirty. See, I don't know if this is true or not, but if that is true, it's just dirty. But I very much question a lot of what I see online because A, it's things online, right? You shouldn't trust everything you see online. But B, people very easily twist the story around, twist the details around, or just fabricate things to support their idea, to support their, like, what they're talking about, their argument.
Well, if companies can do that, what's the point of actually wanting a career? Now we're just looking for jobs that can pay good enough to keep our groceries in our house.
He's not wrong. So he's not wrong on some stuff, but he's wrong on some other stuff. So I don't think there's people not looking for a career. I think people want careers, although I do think things have gotten more dystopian and more greedy, where what's the point of having a career because there's no trust instilled? It's like he said. It's not fully what he said, but it's like he said. Most of the jobs nowadays, they're just like shit. They're just shit. People do want a career, though. People want a place where they could just stay. They don't like changing jobs too often. Obviously, if the job is shit, they're going to change it, but they don't like doing it too often. Even I don't like doing it too often. But hey, if you don't like where you're at, switch it up if you can. But the problem is people are making so little money compared to how much things cost. They kind of have to have a job always. And getting a job takes time. And sometimes if you lose your job and you can't get another job within a week or two, man, you're out on the street. You know, you're getting evicted. That's all it is. That's all there is to it. Because again, like I said, housing prices, apartment rent, it's all going up, and pay isn't going up either. But yeah, no, this is an example of I don't fully agree with what he's saying.
I don't know what you're talking about, but capitalism works.
Okay, again, this is obviously a lot of the TikToks I show are very much against capitalism. That doesn't mean I'm a socialist. That doesn't mean I'm a communist. I'm a nothing. If it's fucking broken, I hate it. And all of these things can be bad. But we're in capitalism, and capitalism is bad right now, so it is what it is. I mean, it's obviously subjective. It's good for the rich. It's bad for the poor. But I feel like I'm definitely one side of that.
Let's
But look at this graph. This graph is so good.
down economics right there. Maybe if you weren't living with mommy and daddy, and tighten up those bootstraps. You just need to work harder.
Just work harder. Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't spend that money on Starbucks.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't drink some coffee.
Rent.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't like the way it is, why don't you start your own business?
Oh, yup.
Make some real money. Stop complaining.
Stop it.
Y'all's generation always complaining.
Look at this. Look at this graph. Minimum wage, income, rent. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely see one of them being the outlier. So he brings up a very good argument. So this is what always happens with old people. Old people always say these things, and they're not entirely wrong. Again, there's some like truth to what they're saying. Like, okay, you have to work harder. If you're not good where you're at, get a better job, start a business, do this, do that. That works for some subset of people. Not everyone is smart enough or capable of starting a business. Not everyone is capable of or smart enough to get a better job with higher pay. Sometimes they're not just available. Sometimes your circumstance gets in the way. Sometimes it's just not in the cards. And for a lot of people, it's like that. Saying just do better is not like a good solution. And sometimes it's just not possible. People just can't do it sometimes. Not everyone can be a CEO. There has to be someone at the bottom. There has to be workers at the lower levels. So what do we do for those people? With this sort of logic, right? Those people are just going to get taken advantage of, manipulated, this, and that, because that's the way things are. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. Obviously, at certain points in society and time, it needed to be because there wasn't enough technology, there wasn't enough output, there wasn't enough to go around just what we could produce with what we had. Obviously, someone needed to get fucked, but we're at the point where, again, in the United States alone, no one has to die from starvation because we make enough food to where we throw out enough food to where everyone can eat. It's just the problem of we don't want to give it out. Now, this is kind of the problem here, right? The rents are going up. You know, you're just not working hard enough. Some people can't work hard enough. Now, if you agree with what he's saying, that means that you also have to implicitly agree that there has to be people at the bottom. Because if no one's going to work the register at Taco Bell, you ain't going to get your fucking Taco Bell. And I want my Taco Bell. And again, not everyone can be an owner, and not everyone can be a CEO. Not everyone can be in a higher position. Most people are average or below. I mean, that's the definition of average. So most people are going to be in the bottom where they can't survive. And if the majority of people can't survive at the bottom, what the fuck are they supposed to do if they can't work harder, they can't do this, they can't do that? And the worst part is, even if you work harder, it's still not enough most of the time, because you either don't get promoted or, you know, you still can't afford things because prices are insane. Now, obviously, if you get into a good position like engineering or doctor and stuff, again, but not everyone can be those things. So what about the people who can't? That is my biggest question of what about the people who can't? Because there's always going to be people who can't. sadly enough, that's a lot of people. What do we do for them? It really brings a good question into my mind, though. In the future, when things get so technologically advanced as they've been, that we get self-driving trucks and stuff, when there's too many people and not enough jobs, because either A, there's too many people and not a lot of jobs are needed, like there's too many people to fill those jobs, right? Like, let's just say you need 100 truckers and there's 1,000 people who need a job. Only 100 of them can be truckers. What about the rest of the 900? Get a different job? But what if technology improves so much to where, okay, the 100 trucking jobs that used to be there, half of them are replaced with self-driving trucks. Now, what do those 50 people do that are out of the job? It's like, eventually, I feel like technology is going to go to the point, and the population is going to go to the point where we have things solved in society in terms of housing and stuff where we don't need more builders. I mean, we're nowhere near that point now, but just take the example here, right? Where, okay, let's say for a long time in the US, we needed like construction people to build specifically houses, right? Eventually, let's just say we use all the land in the US and we build all the houses we need to. At that point, what do? Or before we even finish building all the houses, we make robots to build the houses for us that are more efficient than, human people. What are those workers supposed to do? Eventually, we're going to have more people than we need. And what do? Work harder? There's already enough people at the top. As you go higher up in the ladder, less people are needed. So it's like, again, what are we supposed to do with the majority? These are great questions where, again, it goes back to what I said before of things are breaking the longer time goes on. And it really like makes me question what's going to happen in the future, because things can't be the way they are, because eventually either A, people are going to riot, enough people are going to get killed where we reset things, or there's going to be pandemonium. Something's going to break, and I'm very curious to see what happens. So let's see the next video. Let's make that bread.
Crying. It won't do any good. And anyway, you have a lot of work to do starting right now.
Okay, so I've decided to put some little funny videos here and there into these into the little TikTok videos I make. This is one of them. This is really just there's not much to say here. This is just how I feel in the morning, right? My generation, we just have to just suck it up, and we just gotta like push ourselves, man. Slowly whispering, let's make that bread in the mirror, and then here's reality, aka Outlook
crying.
emails.
It won't do any good. And anyway, you have a lot of work to do starting right now.
See, these are like my bosses, man. Like, these are corporate bosses where you're crying, you're upset. Why are you crying? That's not making us money. That's not helping us or you. Get to work. It's like, what the hell? Oh, look, we got comments, by the way. We got comments. Are the old videos working? No way, right? Yeah, no, they're still not working. Okay, fuck. All right, let's keep going.
Hey guys, so
oh,
today's gonna be a little bit of a different video. I just wanted to show you what a
little
normal
cutie.
GameStop employee's day looks like after GameStop. So
yeah, look.
Hey guys.
So like I said, I wanted to put some comedy in here. I feel really, really bad for anyone who has to work in any retail position. As a person who's done it a little bit myself, it's so fucking bad. This is the thing I really feel bad for. I'm really an advocate for, like, I just feel bad for people. Like, how can you blame people doing, like, the bullshit they do? Obviously, this isn't a way to take it away from them what they do. Like, if someone does something bad or stupid, right? Like, let's just say I go home, or a person goes home, and they just eat a tub of ice cream, because we're America, and they're fat, and they're depressed, right? Even though it is on them for eating the tub of ice cream, how can you blame them when life is so shitty, man? Like, when you have to go spend a majority of your life, of your day, in a place you probably hate, that's fucking terrible, and for what? The biggest, like, good thing driving people back in the day was, okay, I'm doing it for a purpose of, I'll be able to get what I want to get, I'll be able to, like, eventually not have to do this. Well, for my generation, again, look, they're trying to make us do it for longer by raising the retirement age, and then what's the point if by the end of it we're gonna have almost nothing saved? Now, I also found this. I don't know if it's in one of the older TikToks that I can't show anymore because TikTok is glitched. Maybe the US is finally really taking it down. But basically, 401ks, right? 401ks used to be something that companies used to offer, and you would invest your money into it, and then the company would do their best to invest it into stuff that would make you money. Now there's IRAs, right? There's personal IRAs, or not IRAs, simple IRAs, which is what my job now has. So instead of them investing your money for you, where they had an obligation to get you money, to not invest it stupidly, they're like, okay, you know, we'll put out a portion of your paycheck. Yeah, we'll match it like 3%, which is nothing. But now you have to invest it into things that you got to figure out. We're not financial advisors. We're not people who know what are good investments, right? Majority of people don't even know how to invest in the stock market correctly. So the fact that it's now on them, they're going to lose themselves the money they're trying to save for retirement, and it's not going to be as big as what it was before with the 401k. That's something that's changed, where it's just like, it's more just against the people. It's like, what the fuck? But anyway, yeah, this is very accurate. I feel bad for anyone in retail. My heart goes out to you.
When you pay your rent, you should include a tip for your
Love this guy. We've shown this guy before.
Landlord's gone insane.
This is so funny.
They sound like money bags from Spyro the Dragon.
True.
What do you want a tip for? Figuring out how to get ants in the winter?
Yes.
For longest unchanged smoke detector batteries? I bet most water-stained ceilings.
Oh, look at that. He's dealing with that himself.
I'm not even angry. I'm just confused.
He sounds angry.
We're on call 24/7.
No, the maintenance workers you underpay are on call.
Everyone's underpaid.
You want a tip? Here's one. Get a real job.
Ooh. So this one is pretty accurate. Basically, like, I have never heard this. I think this is mostly joking. If this isn't joking, if this is an actual thing where renters have to tip their landlords, or you should, like, it's being, like, normalized, this is absolutely fucking disgusting. I hate the idea of a tip. Tipping, when it becomes mandatory or very much incentivized or sort of like expected, becomes an issue, because then people who are at the top take advantage. Look at the restaurant industry, right? The restaurant industry can get around the minimum wage because they're like, oh, but they get tips. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's so sad, because there's people that I know personally that don't tip, right? So if you don't tip, at that point, the person serving you can't eat, because they're not paid a livable wage, even though minimum isn't even livable. They're paid below that, and they rely on the people's generosity, or what should be generosity, to live. And restaurants say, oh, well, they get tips, so we don't need to pay the minimum. What the hell? What? Are you kidding me? So at this point in time, right, tips have not become optional. They've become almost required for people in the restaurant industry to make a good living. Now, granted, it's working because people are forcing it to work, right? A lot of people do tip. More people tip than I think don't tip, because it's kind of ingrained in our society now. But that's not the way it should be. And the fact that it's like that, and the fact that the people at the top can get away not paying minimum wage to their workers because of this whole tip nonsense, it's fucking disgusting. This is where having a tip is bad. I'm all for tipping if you want to, but when you need to, or when you sort of have to, again, you don't have to, but you're very heavily incentivized that you should, it's like it becomes wrong, because people take advantage. It's so fucking stupid.
All right.
I love this one. This one's good.
I'm not sure what you mean.
It's another banking one. Oh!
Okay. So it was Friday when I saw the news about SBB. And then I wondered,
This is like a second part to the SBV shit. This is so good.
Mid-sized bank, we're a mid-sized bank. Would any of our depositors... Hey, you good? Never better.
Yeah, he's good.
Even though we're diversified, a lot of our deposits aren't insured. So
they're uninsured. Oh, he's out of there. Huh? These are made so well. I love these.
What are you doing in my home?
Take my money, please. What do you want? My credit cards? Here, have all that.
The depositors go to the large banks.
I stepped in.
We all stepped in?
Yeah, stepped in.
What's happening right now?
All right, JP Morgan and I were thinking we pool $30 billion back into First Republic. What do we think? Anyone? Anyone at all?
The U.S. Treasury, man.
Sure, do we have a deal? Nice.
They got it.
Oh, hey, good news. But if you pooled together funds, then why is my stock still there? Well, we're still trying
because
to
the people don't believe it.
All the world's problems, or we could, but we should.
Stay there.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
Calm down next week. All right, next mode of business. Credit Suisse, how's it going overseas?
Oh, sorry.
They're also dying.
No, we can't.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, there it is.
Oh, they're all on fire. So yeah, more banking nonsense. This is kind of over with, at least for now. I don't hear any other banks currently getting ran on. But holy freaking moly, how bad is this shit? Like, it's so bad. And what they said here is so accurate. They could solve most of the world's problems, but they just don't want to. They don't care, right? Because that's not profitable. It's so sad how greed ruins so many things. But yeah, more bank nonsense. This is pretty funny, though. Next.
What the hell is it?
Oh, this is a good one. This is a really good one. So this is, I don't know if this is accurate. I hope it is. But this is when President Kennedy loses his temper after U.S. Steel plots to raise steel prices by $6 per ton. This is something where I really question, how did we change from, if this is how it was in the old days, how come it's not like this now? And again, it has to do with the people at the top. A lot of the blame goes to them. It's sad.
Mr. Blau.
Look at Mr. Blau.
I'm giving you the courtesy, Mr. President, of telling you the news.
Oh, the
We are
news.
at this moment increasing the price of steel by $6 a ton, and you call that a courtesy?
Yeah, and it's a courtesy for the rich people. Yeah.
I am very confused, Mr. Blau.
Oh, but Kennedy doesn't like
The
this.
Secretary of Labor, with great care, with great skill, with great success, negotiate a settlement that was acceptable to the Steelworkers Union just a short time ago.
Oh,
yes, sir,
yeah, they
I'm
did.
glad you remember. And did not the steel industry accept that agreement as
They
well?
did. They
Yes,
did.
But, yes, but what?
But what?
Do I have to tell you, sir, that a price hike by U.S. Steel will force every other steel company in the United States to follow that lead, and that move could wreck the economy by driving up the prices on every single item in the marketplace?
Oh, wow. It kind of sounds like what's happening now. You know where I see this in my daily, everyday life? McDonald's. I don't make a lot of money. I'm pretty sure this is known by my thousands of viewers in the audience. So, I don't make a lot of money. What I allow myself to do is after a long, hard week of work where I'm like depressed, I fucking hate myself, right? I'm like, okay, it's Friday. I can afford something off the McDonald's menu, right? The $1, $2, $3 menu is fucking gone. They don't have anything left for $1 at McDonald's, right? But they used to sell drinks for $1. Now, I used to allow myself the privilege of buying $1, or not $1, free medium fries on Friday if you have a minimum purchase of $1. I was like, okay, I can afford this, right? Even though I can't, I still gotta eat. I'm gonna reward myself so I don't shoot myself, right? So this week I go to McDonald's, right? And all the prices have been going up, but the soda has remained consistent. $1, small, medium, or large, right? The soda is cheap. Soda is very cheap to make. I go to McDonald's for last week and this week. Last week, the soda went up past $1. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to pay more than $1 for soda. Everything is going up at McDonald's. 20-piece nuggets used to be $5. Now you have to get a deal to get them to be $5. But back to the soda, right? I wanted to, only pay $1 because it says $1 minimum. I don't want to spend too much. I don't want to break the bank, right? I used to buy a soda for $1. I used to get a large. The sodas aren't $1 anymore. And I'm like, fuck. So I look at the sweet tea. The sweet tea's still $1 because even that's cheaper to make than the fucking soda. There's not as much shit in it. It's very cheap, right? The sweet tea's $1. I get a sweet tea. I spend my $1. I get my free medium fries. Thank you, McDonald's, right? This week that just passed, I go back. They raised the price of the sweet medium tea. Are you fucking kidding me? I had to get to afford to just spend $1 because I feel bad spending any more. To afford the price of spending $1, I had to buy an extra small medium sweet tea at McDonald's. This is where what's being said here is completely accurate. If one person drives up their prices, everyone else is going to drive up their prices. This is where it becomes the issue of, oh, just increase wages, right? The people who say just increase wages, that's not a solution. Even though it's the obvious answer, at first sight, it is not the solution. And why is that? Okay, if I increase your wage, let's just say I am a boss, right? Or let's just pretend we're like God in this scenario, and we're looking down. We're all God. If a boss increases his employee's wage, instead of making $10, they make $20 an hour, right? Let's just say you're a local store that sells candy, and you figured out, wow, all these people make more money. You're going to start charging more for your candy because this is what happens. Things in Manhattan, where I work, are massively more expensive, even though you could buy the same thing in other places. Why? Because they know rich people are there that can afford them, and they can make more money because that's where they're at. They're at places where a lot of people have a lot of money. So what happens when you raise people wages? People raise their prices, and there's no strong underlying force to keep things in check, and things are just getting out of control because there's no like unifying force basically looking after everything, making sure it's right. When laissez-faire happens, when people are deciding their own things, it's very skewed towards the 1% at the top. Now, this is what happens, right? When you drive up the price on steel, when this one company drives up the price on steel, every other person is going to drive up their price. Instead of keeping it low, they're going to think, okay, I could drive up my price to his stuff, or maybe slightly below. But no matter what, the price is going to go up, because why would you want to keep it low when other people are making more money charging more? It's like, okay, I see that place renting to some guy for $3,000 a month. I'm providing livable rent for $500 a month, but why should I do that when I can make $3,000 off someone? It's like, it doesn't make sense to the people doing it, even though it's wrong. But it ends up being wrong for the majority, not for the minority. And that's basically a lot of what I'm saying for a lot of these. The minority that this is benefiting is against the majority, which is most of us.
I really don't think, sir, you are not thinking clearly.
Get him, Kennedy.
You have forgotten that
Get him, Kennedy.
Down is the main weapon that this administration can use to fight inflation.
Yes.
And that the prosperity of the country hangs in the balance.
And now look, where's inflation now? It's not down. Why? Because prices are not kept in check, because people don't want to get involved. The government doesn't want to get involved and tell people what they can and can't do, because either they're lobbied by these rich people who have made too much money and have grown out of control, or B, they, democracy, laissez-faire, and freedom. But look at where freedom gets us.
Are you in defiance of that, Mr. Blau? Have you no patriotism?
It's not a patriotic issue.
It certainly is.
Yeah, see, this is where he's right. Is it not patriotic? Oh, yeah, it is patriotic. It's patriotic to milk money. Yeah.
It is more important than patriotic. It is a moral issue.
Yes.
Just 4 days ago, we had agreed to restrain wages, and now 4 short days later, you come waltzing in here after concocting this
cockamamie bullshit
scheme behind my back.
I think that's an inappropriate judgment, Mr.
Sir,
President.
you are hardly in a position to judge what is inappropriate.
Get him, Kennedy.
Together, jointly, make the most important move possible to preserve the state of this economy.
And look what happens, right? They did this to try and save the economy. They restricted wages, right? So once you restrict wages, people can't earn more. You restricted it. Oh, so let's raise the prices of stuff. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
You did.
We did.
You did.
Now you are deliberately setting out to wreck that move.
Bruh. It's so crazy. Mr. Blau in this little TikTok is the rich people. It's fucking disgusting.
I want you to know, sir, that you are not going to get away with this, and nor are your colleagues.
Yeah, good. Get him. Look, he's sweating. He's sweating.
In the meantime, Mrs. Lincoln, I want you to get a hold of Secretary of Labor Goldberg and tell him to come to my office.
Yeah, get him.
Yes, thank you.
Get him. Now, this is a little bit of a funny part. I remember this one. Okay, so this is showing Kennedy's infidelity, I'm pretty sure.
Are you alone?
Sure.
You in a hotel?
I'm not messing around. Please. Will you have someone speak to the FBI, Mayor Daley, or some person?
So this has nothing to do with what's being talked about right now.
Wait
But
just a minute, Mr. Blau. I'm not finished with you.
yeah, no, stop trying to weasel your way out of here, Mr. Blau.
No, I was talking to someone else. Listen, try to calm down. I'll take care of it, okay?
Get him, Kennedy.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah.
And just how am I supposed to react to the unions now? They're not going to believe a damn thing.
Oh, how are they going to react to the unions? Well, what does Joey B do to the unions? He makes them illegal and tells them, if you guys stop working and try and unionize, you're going to go to jail because America needs to run. It really shows you how things have changed, man.
I really don't think it's that serious, Mr.
Yeah, this guy doesn't think it's that serious playing with people's livelihood because they don't care.
You don't think that the credibility of the President of the United States is serious?
Oh, sit down. Sit down, Mr. Blau.
Mr. Goldberg will be here in 10 minutes, Mr. President.
Very well. Now would you please contact the Attorney General?
Get everyone in here. Yup.
Very well, Mr.
Dude, Mr. Blau's asshole is going to get blasted. Oh, yeah, Mr. Blau. And you know what the worst part is? He can't say no to the fucking president. This is amazing. This is what needs to happen now. I'm telling you, it's not Joey B. I don't know if it's Trump. I don't know who it's going to be, but someone needs to step up to the plate and they need to deal with things. We need like a fucking FDR situation again. FDR needs to come in and start fucking trust busting these bitches. Let's see what's next on the agenda.
Okay, now that things have calmed.
More banks. Oh my god, this guy's so amazing. So this is the guy we saw before. So this is more continuation to the banking story.
Down, we have Silicon Valley Bank up
Look
for
at
sale.
SVB.
Going once, going
SVB
twice.
is dead. They're fucked up. Look, no one wants to buy it. No one wants to buy it. Yeah, who's gonna buy the bank, right? Someone wants to buy it, right? Oh.
This is demoralizing. It's alright. The Ultra went a lot quicker with our UK unit. Alright, who wants this then? One more take a whip it out. Jiminy, balls and
This is
glass.
so
Sweet,
fucking
yeah, Ringo.
stupid.
If only I knew what they were saying. Well, don't worry, man. I think we'll be fine.
Look, he's trying to weasel his way out just like Mr. Blau.
Sure that the door doesn't get away.
Yeah, the door doesn't get away.
You'll be fine, okay? When have I not been there for you? We sold $3.6 million of stock 2 weeks before we crashed.
Wow.
I don't. You crashed due to unforeseen market circumstances. You locked the government for looser banking regulations. It's like I was the car and you were the driver. Do not gaslight me in my fragile state. Okay, you know what? We're not doing this again. We are not.
Oh.
Going 87.
He's lowering the price. No one wants to buy
now
it.
that things have calmed.
So basically, again, this just shows like these rich people, SVB themselves lobbied and they pushed for less regulations on themselves. And look what happens when they pushed for less regulations on themselves. They fucked it all up, right? They ruined everything. They wanted less regulations so they could make more money. And what happened? They fucked it up. They lost money. Everything is fucked. And now no one wants to buy their asses. Because who the fuck would? And then look at what the CEO is saying. Now, again, this is obviously for satire. Obviously, this isn't really what happened, like one for one. But these rich people blame us for them making stupid decisions and us not like giving them money. It's almost like they're so entitled and so expecting us to go along with just having them stay rich. It's so sad. And they just want to take advantage of us. It's so sad.
Hey, Sonic, I learned.
Oh, this is a good one too.
More about that wage theft thingy.
Okay.
So this is all the wage theft in America.
Whoa, where
yes,
did you get those?
50 billion per year, by the way.
This is all the other types of theft in America combined.
15 billion.
And this is all the surplus value stolen from workers each year.
Jesus.
Just looking at it makes my blood boil.
Yeah, me too,
Knuckles. I'm
Knuckles.
impressed. You've been reading up.
Well, stop being impressed and start being angry. We gotta find Eggman and put a stop to this.
Eggman is the rich.
Coming for those wages, Eggman.
He's so close.
So this is very, very, it's a really good TikTok because it shows a lot of things, right? Knuckles is like people like me. We figure out these things are happening. And the worst part is, we figure out it's happening, but nothing is really changing right now. We're kind of in this middle ground where until enough people decide things shouldn't be this way, they're just going to continue being this way. Now, this is something where once you realize it, I don't understand how these things can be known so publicly, right? That this amount of money is stolen from workers. And again, think about it like this, right? I've experienced this in my own personal life. My job is supposed to pay me $18 an hour starting. They decided to pay me $17 because I fucked up and I didn't read the whole thing. But again, I'm obviously at fault, but is the job not evil for saying they'll pay me $18? I didn't notice it because it was the last sentence. And then they pay me $17 to try and like save some money. They try and save $1. Meanwhile, they make millions of dollars every year, hundreds of millions. So isn't that like evil on them? Obviously, I'm at fault. Obviously, I made a mistake, right? But who's the one taking advantage of that mistake? It's my job. And these numbers, 13 trillion, 50 billion a year that are taken from workers that are stolen, right? These numbers are known, but nothing's changing. It's like we know it, and then nothing really happens. The other problem is, how the fuck do we fight the system? How do we fight the system knowing all these things? It's almost impossible to fight it too. It's like, what do we even do? But it's so funny here because Knuckles decides, yeah, we need to start being angry, right? This is the sad part where I really, really do not advocate for violence, but at a certain point, and this is what happened with the riots when a lot of people of color were being killed by the police and people started rioting and stuff. At a certain point, peaceful stuff does not get anything done. It just doesn't. Like, it gets it done maybe really slowly, but overall, when it gets pushed to a certain point where it gets violent, then things really change. It sucks that that's the way it is. I never wanted to get to that. But getting to that does yield results, but it's the wrong way to do it. And it's like, what do we even do? The peaceful way doesn't work. The violent way does work, but the violent way is wrong. So what do we do? But people definitely need to get angry. If nothing else, get angry. Challenge it into something good, non-violent. But listen, at a certain point, excuse me, when push comes to shove, what the fuck are we supposed to do? But it's funny too, because like Knuckles thinks it's Eggman, right? He thinks Eggman's the one doing this. It's not Eggman. We probably think there's certain people who are at fault for this. We probably don't know a good majority of them. The good majority of the people that do this and that cause things to be the way they are, we probably don't even know who it is. And either A, they're misleading us to think it's someone else, or B, they're just really good at being secretive. It's really sad. Because, excuse me, when you blame, let's say, the government, right? Like, oh, the government is making things bad, this, and that, blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck in the government is going to answer for it? We're just blaming the carpet statement of the government themselves. Who the fuck is actually at fault? Is it the Federal Reserve? Is it Jerome Powell? They always find a way to say it's not me. Okay, well then who is it? Someone needs to be held accountable. but they don't have a face to this thing, so it's kind of hard to, because it's multiple people. And the best way to combat this personally is to get all of them accountable, even if they're not, because then they're gonna find out who is. If you go to someone in power and say, I'm blaming you for the stuff being this way, they're either gonna try and weasel their way out of it if it's them, or they're gonna damn well help you to find out who actually did it. And that's kind of like what's happening in France right now. Before we saw the French, trying to revolutionize their country again, right? They're demanding the head of the fucking president for raising the retirement age. The police and the firefighters, the public safety people that are against the, technically against the people because they're with the government, some of them are joining the side of the people at this point. It's like, what the fuck? It's like even they agree this is fucked up. But yeah, it's just really fucked. Let's see what's next.
If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees,
like me, even though I'm 24,
and like initiative,
okay, I don't have that,
aren't smoking weed every day.
Okay. That is me. I don't smoke weed almost any day. In fact, I don't smoke weed at all.
If they can't make enough to buy a car,
I can't make enough to afford to live. Again, I told you guys the McDonald's story.
Much less a home, much less get married, much less have children.
What's the point?
Then
what the fuck is the
point?
Why
should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
See, this is the sad part too, because I don't really know, and I think most of them don't know what socialism is. They're just so discontent with capitalism right now. It's like, okay, if it's this bad with this system, any other system might be better, but we hate what's going on now. When you hate what's going on now, almost anything will be better. Almost anything will be better. I'm getting too ahead of myself. I'm getting too excited, right? So this is where it's kind of like it has to do with the job, right? If you're in a job and you're making money and you need the job to sort of live, right? Eventually, after a while, the job gets to you and you're like, okay, listen, I don't care if they fire me. If they fire me, any place might be better than this. It could be worse, but it could also be better, right? Because the way things are is not working.
Well, you should not be surprised.
I agree to a certain extent. I think that the
fucking Ben Shapiro is like me. I start talking too fast. I get too excited. He talks really fast.
Question is when the pedal hits the metal. Like you talk in the book about technology and how it's shifting and taking away jobs from folks. Yes. And you make specific reference to truck driving and the fact that there's these automated cars on the roads. So would you, Tucker Carlson, be in favor of restrictions on the ability of trucking companies to use this sort of technology specifically to, sort of artificially maintain the number of jobs that are available in the trucking industry?
Are you joking? In a second.
Are you joking?
In a second. In other words, if I were president, when I say to DOT, the Department of Transportation, we're not letting driverless trucks on the road, period. Why? Really simple.
People need to have
Driving
jobs.
for a living is the single most common job for high school educated men in this country, in all 50 states. By the way, that's the same group whose wages have gone down by 11% over the past 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
The social cost of eliminating their jobs in a 10-year span, 5-year span, 30-year span is so high that it's not sustainable.
And that right there, that little sentence he just said, is basically what I've echoed before in this video. It's not sustainable. The things that have been going on are no longer sustainable, and we're seeing them crack, and over time they're going to break. It's not sustainable.
So the greater good is protecting your citizens from, look,
this guy has a chin like fucking Mitch McConnell.
Capitalism is the best economic system.
He got the turkey-like neck.
I can think of. I think that anyone's ever thought of. But that doesn't mean that it's a religion and everything about it is good.
Facts.
There's no Nicene Creed of capitalism that I have to buy into. What I care about is living in a country where
you can actually live.
People can live happy lives, actually.
Yeah.
So, no, I would say, no, are you joking? And I maybe would make up some pretext for public consumption, like, oh, they're dangerous. The technology's not quite finessed. No. But the truth would be, I don't want to put 10 million men out of work.
Thank God. Yeah, we shouldn't want to.
Because you're going to have 10 million dead families, and the cascading effect from that will wreck your country.
Okay, I don't know about 10 million dead families. They're not obviously going to die. They're going to suffer before they die. But it's not like, okay, the truckers lost their jobs, their family's now dead. No, they're going to get different jobs, and then they're going to start going into squalor, and they're going to become marginalized communities. And, it's a whole process, but they're not just going to die. This is where I think, again, they go a little extremist with it. It's just like, this is what I was saying before, too. It's like, eventually, if you have these automations, right, where jobs could get done that previously needed people, and people are just increasing, What are these people supposed to do when there's not enough jobs out anymore to even fit all these people, let alone these jobs are being taken by automation? What do you do?
Real wasabi. So the Willow Project went through and the UN just released a final warning about climate change. The IPCC just said that we have less than 7 years to do everything we can to prevent the Earth from warming more than 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels.
Oh, shit.
After 1.5 degrees, things get really bad. And you might be wondering, what can I personally do to help? And
okay, so this, let me stop you here because I know what he's going to say, because now we're getting to the really recent videos that I sent myself. Like, this was 2 days ago. So, basically, this is something that, excuse me, is sort of similar to everything else I've seen, right? Or I've said. Everything on almost every front is going wrong. Housing is going crazy. The banks are going crazy. Wages are going crazy. And crazy in the bad way, not in a good way, right? So, all these things are bad, right? So what the fuck are we supposed to do? Now this, what he's going to say next, I actually think is very true.
And the answer is probably nothing, but it wouldn't hurt to become a communist.
Okay, this is where I don't agree. This is where this guy's obviously just trying to go against the grain. Again, I don't know if these are his actual thoughts. If these are his actual thoughts, I'm very much against it. But he speaks in absolutes like a Sith. Granted, I get called the Sith a lot, but he's kind of doing that too.
Your personal carbon footprint.
This is where I don't agree with everything. I just want to put that out there. As much of these videos say some things I do agree with, there's a lot of it that I don't, and here's a big example of that.
Recycling, paper straws, all that shit does nothing.
He's not right. He's not right here. It does very little. It doesn't do nothing, but it does do something, but it's just very little.
In fact, the idea of a personal carbon footprint was created by big oil so you wouldn't blame them.
I don't know fully if that's true, but I'm going to speak on that after.
Read the most recent report about climate change. Learn what causes it. Learn about how the fossil fuel industry refuses to switch to renewables because they have to maximize profits under capitalism.
That's probably true.
Capitalism fuels climate change, so to be against climate change, you have to be against capitalism, aka a communist.
Not true at all.
Wasabi.
So anyway, there's a couple things I want to say about this. Number one, I thought about this while watching this. It's like, why the fuck do these people that talk about this stuff have like some random bullshit happening on the side of the screen or at the bottom of the screen? It's honestly there to just like, excuse me. Oh my God, I'm getting sick. It's honestly there just to have something to look at instead of the guy's face, because that's boring. Watching them make food is kind of interesting. And always, I don't know why, it's always like Temple Run or some shit that they put on. It's like you're watching Temple Run or Subway Surfers. It's like, what the hell? It's a little weird random thing there. But anyway, basically with this, right? What was the thing I wanted to talk about? Yeah, so this, right? So companies like Big Oil and stuff, they're the ones who are major contributors to greenhouse gas emission and everything like that, right? Obviously, on the individual level, we have almost no impact. Almost no impact. Obviously, there's an impact. The problem with this, excuse me. Let me drink some water. Hold on. Anyway, the problem is, let's just say every single individual person on the earth, every residential person, recycled properly, stopped using the AC, stopped doing like hairspray, all that stuff that causes CFC to get into the atmosphere and destroy the ozone layer and stuff, right? Did things to actively help with climate change. It would be a drop in the bucket compared to all the stuff produced by big companies. Big companies are the most major contributor to stuff in the environment going wrong. Not saying that us changing stuff wouldn't help on the individual level. It would, but it wouldn't help enough to really change anything. It's like 1% or some shit like that. I don't know the actual math, but it's very little. Where things are basically, again, if everyone does what they're supposed to on an individual level, it won't matter and it won't change anything, because big companies are the ones that need to change, because they're the ones that have the biggest effect on it. And I fully believe, taking media, the best major ever I took in college, I fully believe that these companies actually did do stuff to convince us that it's our fault global warming is happening and not their fault, because they just want to maximize profit. It's really sad. I feel like I'm saying the same things when I do these of, it's the rich, it's big companies, it's this and that. But I'm still going to do them just to drive home the idea of it really is. Like, think about it. These people would rather maximize profits than have a long, livable, sustainable Earth. In 100 years, who knows if we're going to be here, if we have enough rainwater, if we have enough fresh water, if we have enough livable, clean land. I saw this thing recently. I think I posted it to myself on TikTok, but again, TikTok's having problems. The US is probably trying to ban it, or, you know, they are. But, there was this thing, I think, with this place in Africa where they don't even have access to clean water because all the oil companies are dumping shit there, and the water is like so black and stuff, and like children die, and like tens of thousands of people like die in this African country, right? I don't remember the specifics because we don't have it up, but it's so bad that they're doing this, and they're doing this just because of profits. It's like, are you kidding me? This is how inconsequential they view our lives versus money. Money is evil. I really, really hate money. It's sad that it's so like important in our society, but we make it that way. And this just goes to show you that at the end of the day, the true evil is us, because we made things this way. But anyway, yeah, I fully agree with a lot of what he says, just not everything. I don't know about the whole communist thing. We don't need to be communist, right? Like, just because there's not just two sides to this.
All right.
Okay, cool. So we're going to stop it here. So the next episode is going to be what I just showed. It's going to be a special episode dedicated to TikTok itself. But we're going to end this one here. It's been about an hour, almost exactly an hour, actually. So we're going to end this one here. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode of the Dark Dimension TikTok reactions. If you want to send me some stuff, you can friend me. I can try and pre-filter and then send it to myself. But we'll definitely see. If anything, you can send it. You can friend me on... Let me see where it is. On Tecnics. Tecnics is my main account. You could send it to me there. Friend me on there. I'll accept whoever. DM me. Anything you want to DM me. And then if I think it's good, it'll show up in here. But, you know, who knows if we can actually see it, because TikTok is fucking with us. I'm so upset I lost all those TikToks, man. I really wanted to show them. But anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed. I stream every day at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel at varying times because I'm depressed. But please catch me there. Come hang out with me. Hope you enjoyed.